For the first time in my life, I can say I had a good January. It's safe to say the worst thing that happened to me this month was these bangs. I am walking out of January with a fuck ass bang. But for that to be the worst thing that has happened to me this month, that's saying a lot. Starting off, which it's so funny, I feel like I've lived two lives since I got BTS tickets. Life is worth the living. On top of being able to look forward to my absolute dream concert, January also was a good reading month for me in terms of numbers. Quality was okay, but I read a lot this month, so I want to talk about it. I'm going to quickly go through the books that I read in January because some of them I don't have much to say about, and then I'm going to jump into talking about the books I'm trying to read this February because it's ambitious, but I believe I can do it. And that's what really matters. At the beginning of January, I started by reading The Art Thief, which I really enjoyed. This is nonfiction. It's about this guy who stole like so many paintings and so many pieces of art. He was crazy. I felt like this book was extremely engaging and really well paced. I flew through it because I was just addicted to it and I was so interested to see what was going to happen next. Obviously, when a story like this comes out, you know they get caught. And so reading it, I literally was on the edge of my seat waiting to figure out how he got caught and what was going to happen. I can't spoil what happened, but I feel like this was extremely accessible and a very easy like nonfiction to start in. Very entertaining, really enjoyed it. Then, of course, in the dead of winter, I have to pick up a summer romance. So I read Problematic Summer Romance by Ali Hazelwood. I don't have much to say about this except for I loved it and I thought it was really good. One of my favorite parts was the atmosphere of this. It took place in Italy. Yeah. I feel like this might be like her best book. Something I love to do is listen to audiobooks while I read. I'll get it to it in February, but I do have a plan to do that soon. But I did it with Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. I've been meaning to read this for like, I think I had bought it sometime in 2024, but I've been meaning to read this for quite a while and I like didn't. And then somebody I was watching mentioned that the audiobooks were good and my library had them. So I borrowed the audiobook and I listened to this. It was such a fun, like sweet book. I don't think I've ever read a cozy fantasy, but I really enjoyed this one. I really enjoyed the narrator and I just felt like immersed in the story. I loved the voices that she did for the different characters. I ended up really enjoying this as well. The next book I borrowed from the library, so I unfortunately don't have a copy, but that's On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vuong, which I really enjoyed. Over Christmas, I was at the bookstore with my cousin and he told me that I need to read On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous. So I put a hold on the library immediately and I read it. This book is about like trauma and familial relationships. I found some of the passages really, really beautiful. There are some that stick out more than others, but by the end of the book, I was so emotionally connected. It was an extremely emotional read. I'm not a huge poetry person, but I feel like because now I know a little bit about him, I would be interested in reading his poetry. The next book I finished was also completing a series, and that was The Raven King by Maggie Stiefvater. I gave this 5 stars. I absolutely love these books. I think that this is probably one of the best series I've ever read. The characters in this, perfection. I cried multiple times throughout this book because at this point, like these characters are my family. They are my family. They are my friends. So I feel like this is going to be a series that I probably end up rereading like every year, probably. This was just such a great conclusion to the series. I just love all these characters. My most recently finished book was Transcendent Kingdom. This one focused on family trauma and loss, grief, but also religion. And that was probably my favorite part of this book was the way she would write about religion and her experience as a child and growing up and how her mindset changed. I found that extremely interesting. That was probably my favorite part of the book. Those are the books I finished in January, but I have a couple more that I started, and today's the 28th, so there's a chance I'm gonna finish like one of these probably, but starting out with the book that I'm going to finish tonight, that's a Funny Story by Emily Henry. I'm just gonna put it down because I don't have the dust jacket on it. I'm really enjoying this so far. I think Miles is so hot. I haven't read many Emily Henry books. I read Beach Read like 2 years ago, I think, but I haven't picked up any since then. The reason why I decided to pick up Funny Story first is because I saw a rumor that there's even a possibility that Hudson Williams could be playing Miles. So I was like, well, I need to read the book immediately because if people want him to play Miles, I need to know why. I don't know if I agree or not. Obviously, if he played Miles, I would be absolutely obsessed with that, but I don't have anyone else in mind that could play Miles. I'm currently on page 238, and I'm planning to finish this tonight or maybe tomorrow. After I'm finished filming this video, I plan to just sit down and read for the rest of the night. I'm really enjoying it so far. Even though I don't jump on Emily Henry's new releases every year, I do like her writing, so I'm planning to read more of her books soon. The next book I started in January is Six of Crows, and I'm like that much through. I have been meaning to read this for so long. People have been telling me to read it because one of my favorite movies ever is Ocean's 11. If you haven't watched it, you just need to watch it. It's like such a fun movie. It's basically a heist. They do like a casino heist, but this is like the dark fantasy version of Ocean's 11. I'm really enjoying this so far. I really like all the characters. I really like Nina. I really like Nina. I'm interested by Kaz, and his aura is definitely something that's intriguing me. I'm very excited to get to know him more. I also really like Inej. I like the other characters, but like my favorite right now is probably Nina. I love Nina. I hope nothing bad happens to her. The last book I started in January is one that I'm probably going to space to read over multiple months just because there's no rush to reading it. I already know all the information within it, so it's the BTS book. I started reading this and I like how there's like little interview segments, and I like how it's like multimedia, like you can scan a QR code and watch a video. I love to read about things I already know about. I literally got this the day it came out and then I'd never read it. And I think now that I'm seeing them in concert is the perfect time to pick it up and read it. Now, after all that yapping, it's time to go into my February TBR. I'm not one to stick to my TBRs. I'm not very good at that, but this is my February TBR because these are all library books and I need to give them back by the end of February. In no particular order, starting out with Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin. I've been meaning to read this for a very long time and I put a hold on it and I finally got it. I've been wanting to read something by James Baldwin for a while, and so I figured the one that I see talked about the most is where I should start. I'm really excited to read this. I think this is going to be one of the first books that I read in February. I've been meaning to read it for a couple months. The next book is Hollywood's Eve by Lily Anolik. I think she wrote another book called Didion and Babbitts, but I've heard like she's like an Eve Babbitts apologist. I kind of wanted to read this before I read Didion and Babbitts. Also, I feel like I've been itching to read something about Eve Babbitts or something by Eve Babbitts because it's been too long. So I figured maybe I should pick up something like this. I find this like era, this time period in LA extremely interesting. It's like one of my favorite like LA time periods to read about. The next book is Abigail by Magda Szabo. Did I say that right? I feel like I said that right. This one's kind of random. I kind of picked this up because I've just seen people talk about it. I've seen a lot of people talking about this in some videos I've been watching recently, so I was like, why don't I give it a try? I don't know. I've never read anything by this author, but I've heard really great things. And every time people talk about her stories, I'm always like, wait, I want to read that. And then I never do. So I figured if I saw one, I should pick it up. And I saw one at the library last night, so I picked it up. The back says this takes place during World War II, and I always find life around that time extremely interesting to read about because like literally what the frick? The bottom of this is kind of sending me. It's saying there is something of Jane Austen in this story of a deceptiveness of appearances. Fans of J.K. Rowling are sure to enjoy Szabo's picture of irreverent students. What? You're telling me this is like Harry Potter? I don't believe you. The next book I sort of mentioned when I was saying I was going to do audiobook and reading at the same time, and that's The Buffalo Hunter. I don't remember what video I was watching where someone said the audiobook of this was really good, but I recently put a hold on the audiobook from my library, and then when I was at the library last night, they had an actual copy of it. So I decided to pick it up. My favorite audiobook listening activity is reading the book at the same time. It just literally makes me feel like there's nothing else going on in this world except for the book. For some reason, it has these crazy sprayed edges. This is described as an American Indian revenge story, which I just think is extremely interesting. I love to read about revenge and rage and hatefulness. This is probably another one of my most anticipated reads because I've heard no bad things about this book ever, and so I'm just really interested to see what it's about. The last library book that I have checked out is Deep Cuts by Holly Brickley. I also heard this is similar to like Daisy Jones and the Six vibes, where it's like about music and like, you know, relationships and toxicness probably. But my sister recently read this and she was obsessed with it, so I knew I had to read it as soon as possible. I also love a book that spans many years where we get to know these characters and we get to go through things with them. So yeah, I'm excited to read this. I'm excited to read all of the books that I checked out. Obviously that's why I checked them out from the library, but I just feel like this month could be like a record-setting, high rating month if I read these books. And I will. I won't even say if. I will read these books. I think that's all I have to say for now. Thank you so much for watching. Comment down below your favorite read of January and something that you want to read in February. Also comment down below if you got BTS tickets because I'm so excited.